I have an idea worth sharing. But in order for you to understand my idea, I need you to come back with me to when I was a child. It is an amazing thing to have a sibling, somebody who you can share your life with, and somebody who you can look back on memories with fondly. That's what I share with my sister Diana. She is an amazing wife to my brother-in-law, an incredible mother to both of my nephews, and the proud owner to 20 chickens and counting. My sister and I love to talk to each other, and something that we like to do is we like to talk about those memories that we shared. Something a while ago that she shared with me was that she was translating these very important documents for our family that she had no business reading. My sister, by the age of 10, had already understood the passwords to our bank accounts, the day the rent was due, and the financial issues that our house had already had. Now that's tough to swallow given that children aren't meant to understand these types of things. They're meant to enjoy their time in youth and not worry about things like that. This is also tough to swallow, given that our family, our parents, came here to achieve something known as the American dream. According to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the American dream is defined as a happy way of living that is thought of by many Americans as something that can be achieved by anyone in the U.S., especially by working hard and becoming successful. Now, in that definition, what do you believe is the most important part to an immigrant child? I would say it's happiness. Wouldn't you? The American dream is something that the majority of immigrant families fight for. However, it comes at the expense of children at times. There was a study conducted by Western Sydney University that found data in immigrant children being translators. The study found that when these children acted as translators, they felt useful and they felt helpful. However, this also made a lot of stress on these kids, leading them into risk-taking behaviors, such as drinking and the use of marijuana. Along with that study, the study also cited another study. It found data in 184 different Chinese 15-year-olds, second and first generation. The study saw that these children, when put into the position of being a translator, they had poorer psychological health than those that weren't translators. It also found that parent-child conflict later followed them. Now, there is a correlation between translating and the possible outcome of a child. A study done in 2007 had found that when a child is a translator and there's a positive outcome, then great self-esteem and higher academic scores followed them. An example that comes to mind is my sister Diana again. When we were little, my mom had decided to apply for a job. My mom did not know any English, so my sister had to translate for her. My sister translated, and later on, my mom got the job. My sister got a great amount of self-esteem out of that. And later on, a huge sibling rivalry began. However, the study also cited that when a child is put into a translator position and a negative outcome comes out of it, then they have low academic scores, and they also have lower self-esteem. In high school, one of my friends was translating the eviction notices that his apartment complex was sending his family. I slowly start to see my friend leave high school, become absent, and he didn't have the same self-esteem as I did when I was growing up. The study did not go on to say the situations where these kinds of outcomes happen, but the study did go on to say that adults must exercise awareness when putting children into these positions. You see, as children become more aware of the world they live in, they start to get a lot of stress to perform. When you are the main language broker, the retirement plan, and the next leader of your family, wouldn't that make you stressed as well? We start to see a power dynamic shift between parent and child. The child becomes more disobedient because they're aware of the shortcomings adults we have. We also start to see that if you pair that along with being a translator, then we have an adult, or we have a child, I should say, making adult-level decisions all by the age of 10. Again, my sister Diana, with those amount of years, was expected to defend and represent anybody, or my family, with whoever comes through our door. So one day, in 2010, The US Census comes around. My sister Diana knocks, or my sister Diana answers to that door, and she was expected to represent our family and answer the questions for the US Census. Now, if you don't know, the US Census is a very important piece of data collection. It helps us reach number of congressional seats. It helps us draw legislative boundaries. It also helps direct funding to certain communities around us. Something that I found interesting when I was actually researching this topic is how data was collected within these Hispanic communities. Did you know that by 2060, the US Census predicts that there will be 111 million Hispanics living in this country? That is a lot of voices, and that is a lot of data to be collected. But the main issue is that the Hispanic community is the least likeliest to participate in these surveys. Why is that? That is because they have a fear of their status being questioned. We also start to see that a lot of these research institutes, such as the Pew Research Center, actually have issues translating for these communities. The Pew Research Center actually has a question that they ask all the time. The Pew Research Center asks, how often, if ever, do you attend family gatherings? The phrase "if ever" does not have a direct translation in Spanish. Not only that, but within cultural context, the word family can mean extended family. So we start to see that translation can skew statistics and lead to the misrepresentation of communities. We also start to see that a lot of these communities may be misrepresented because there may have been a child having to translate for these documents. This is something very common within these communities, but if you're not part of these communities, you're not going to see it. I'm a college student, so naturally I gain employment through retail spaces. I work at Best Buy, which is an electronics retailer. Something that is tasked to me is to get people to come back, and our company uses memberships and credit cards in order to get people to come back. So whenever I have a family come in and say they want to finance a television, I direct them to the credit card application. Almost always, I have a child inputting information. Our application is asking them, how much do you earn in a year? How much do you pay in rent? What's your credit history? I don't know about you, but to a child right now, and especially my two nephews, those topics are alien to them. They don't understand these adult-level kinds of information, but they're expected to put in that information. I then go on to say how credit works, how the application works, and it goes on to a very long explanation about credit cards. However, luckily enough, I work for a retailer that understands that there is a diverse population that we care for. In order to reach our community's needs, we employ a very diverse staff. We have people that speak Spanish, we have people that speak Vietnamese, French, Russian, a plethora of other languages. And because of that diverse staff, we actually outperform our competitors in areas where they falter. Now, I say this to say that there are resolutions. In order for you to change somebody's mind, what I like to say is you have to either change how they feel, or you're going to have to change how heavy their pockets are. If you're somebody who is a business mogul, an entrepreneur, I highly encourage you to tailor your business to something that is multilingual. But if you're somebody that believes that diversity is not important, I challenge you with these statistics. Did you know that 72% of customers, when you market to them in their native tongue, they come back to you? That increases your revenue. Did you know that Neil Patel, a well-respected marketing analyst that has worked for Amazon, has actually increased his clients' web traffic by 47%? That also leads to an increase in revenue. And lastly, 60% of global online users are actually non-native English speakers. Those are people who you have alienated because they don't speak the same language as you do. Lastly, I want to have a call to community centers. Community centers should employ a diverse staff. They should employ people that can translate for these families, so that way these kids don't have to. And through being at a community center, if these families need help, they're already within close proximity to get that help. We need adults like you and me to step up and go into these communities, help these kids, and help them realize that they have the ability to achieve the American dream. Down the road, there's a middle school. It's named Martin Luther King. Its population of students is 60% Hispanic. When I went in there to proctor them for an EOG test, and after the test, I explained to them, I speak Spanish. I go to UNC Charlotte, and I can get you and help you to get to college. Immediately, those worries from home were gone, and instead, they could focus on their future. We need to start realizing that we, all of us here in this room, and all of those around us, are the gatekeepers to the American dream. We've achieved something that a lot of people wish for, and we need to realize that immigrant children can reach it too. Thank you.